Do you ever just get in the car and head on out for a nice, relaxing little cruise? Clear your mind. Think about the way things are going in life. Relieve yourself of some of those stresses that might be around you. Many of us are married. We love our husbands, we love our wives. But every once in a while, we just need that moment of fresh air to let all the stress come off of our chest. That's the way our love stays strong. But some of us that don't have those relationships still like to go out on the town and venture around. Maybe we're new to the area and we just want to drive around and see the sights, learn our way around, get lost, and find our way back home. It's kind of fun and exciting sometimes. I used to love it. When I moved to a new place, when I was in a new area, it was like a game to me. I had to drive 20 miles away from the home and then try to find a different route back, even sometimes getting lost for 2 to 3 hours. But that's how I learned the new town. That's how I learned my way around. Where's the cool shops to go shopping at? Where are the grocery stores when I need a midnight snack? Where is everything? The movie theater. And I get it, a lot of people look downly upon those that take nighttime drives. It's odd to them. They just don't understand it. But do they really think deep and long and hard about how they've lived their lives and what they've had to do in their life? Do they think back to when they were in college? There were times in almost all of our lives we had to leave our house late in the evening, early in the morning, whatever it might be, and we drove. Whether it be to the grocery store or it's back in the day when Walmart was open 24 hours a night. But somehow we forget about all of those things that just weren't all that odd. But when we project it onto one person that's being accused of a crime, it just could never be possible because it's just so odd and crazy that someone would drive at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't know, I think right now, maybe tonight, when my wife gets off work at 1 o'clock in the morning, maybe we'll just have to hop in our car with our 3 puppies and just take a nice drive, overseeing the lights of the city, taking a deep breath, letting the week of frustration kind of come off our shoulders and relax a little bit so that when we get home, we can snuggle up, relax, say I love you to each other, and get a good night's sleep. I'm ARHayes. This is Convict's Thoughts. And I just want you to open your mind. So we're going to have a nice little relaxing discussion in regards to the Idaho 4. It's a tragic case. Maddie, Xana, Ethan, and Kaylee will never forget you. You are what is most important in regards to the entire case. It's not our opinions. It's not our thoughts. It's not how we feel the case should be judged or looked at. It's the fact that we're all looking for justice for the 4 of you. So, put up a little drink to you and know, ladies and gentlemen, I do not drink alcohol. My wife has got me hooked on this new Spindrift. It's another ridiculous, a real squeezed fruit drink from Starbucks. I can't even believe I drink it, but I'm glad that I'm here with you. Raise my glass to you. I hope all of you are enjoying your Saturday. It's coming into the evening time, and I hope everybody stays safe tonight and has a good night. I remember all the times that I moved to new cities and I would venture out and just drive. And my days were pretty busy. And even today, now in my life, my days are pretty busy. I don't get to go out as much as I would like to during the daytime hours. It's hard to even find time sometimes to go to the bank or go get my errands done. And most of you that have children, I'm sure you find it even more difficult than I do. So I find my relaxing time when I can get it. A lot of times it's 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. And for all of those out there that are banging their head against the wall, calling me crazy because I go drive around at times in the middle of the night. And it typically happens 3 or 4 times a week. I don't think I'm that odd that I need to get some fresh air, roll down my windows, allow the cool air to blow into my car as I cruise at 55, 60 miles an hour down a side highway, just out in the middle of anywhere that I need to be. I mean, if I'm on the outskirts of the city limits, I get to see the beautiful array of lighting. If I have to drive through the middle of town, well, then we're playing a little game of Frogger trying to get our car in and out of traffic because I am a horrifically bad driver. But it's all soothing to me. It allows me to wind down through my day that maybe I felt a little stress. So when I look at Koberger, I could relate. PhD student trying to accomplish the highest level of education he would be able to muster in his field. On top of that, he's working as a teacher's assistant and helping other students better themselves and become more educated and reach their goals within their desired degree programs. He's having to find ways to pay his bills, whether that be through side jobs or whatever he might do. There's not a lot of discussion in regards to it, but we do know he maintained employment through different times of his life. I'm sure that he had to pay for the gas in his car, his rent on his apartment, and many will say, well, he gets that through the financial aid that he gets through the schooling and also, the different ways you can get money through the university, scholarships. But I'm telling you, because I do know of people, including my wife, that went through college that even though they had scholarships and financial aid, more money was necessary to be able to survive. So most of the time you had to find at least a minimum of part-time work. It takes up your full day. You're busy. So who are we to look at somebody that decides the nighttime is when they can get their chores done, like vacuuming their home, getting the work around their house done, to even going out to maybe getting a bite to eat at a late night restaurant like a Denny's or an IHOP. 24-hour restaurants are in business for a reason, ladies and gentlemen. There are people that utilize them. But then just even hit the road and drive around. And I've listened to it while he was driving around neighborhoods. He shouldn't have been in those neighborhoods. Well, why not? Why not? Who's to say you shouldn't be in a neighborhood or driving down certain streets? Why do any of us have the ability to say that when we don't even know why he was there in the first place? He would be the only one that could answer that question. If he chooses not to, that's his right. That is his right. If all he wants to say is, I was out for a late night drive, I went through numerous places, who are we to question that and why? I know of the PCA making a statement of 12 various pings in the area of the home. Okay. Some say stalker. I say out for a drive, learning the areas, maybe stopping to see someone we don't know as a friend. Maybe just sitting in the dark somewhere in their car. I've done that. I've pulled over in my car when I was so mad and frustrated with people around my home. I pulled over and actually slept in my car till the next morning and then went to class and then back home. I started doing that even in high school. So we don't know. We have no clue. Well, that's not a good enough alibi, everybody says. Well, okay. I don't remember in those 12 pings in the area that were all deemed to be odd hours of the evening. Did anything ever happen? Did any crime ever get committed? Did anybody ever get reported as injured or even murdered during those times? No. No, there was no report of any foul play whatsoever for any of the 12 other pings of that phone. Wipe it off the table. Those pings mean nothing. Everybody says, well, it puts them in the area. Okay, so what? My phone is pinged around this certain house here in Vegas probably 500 times in the past, 6 months. Never been to the house, never been in it, never talked to anybody at that house, but I guarantee you my phone's pinged right next to it because I can see the house from where I park to walk in to another house that I do go see, an 88-year-old woman that's on dialysis that's actually teaching me how to better take care of myself. But I guess all those phone pings, because the crime just the other day happened up the street, should put me in the area, and since I have such a horrendous background, maybe I'm the one that committed it. I hope they're investigating me so that I can get cleared soon. My whole point is this is a young man that moved from the East Coast to the West Coast, and within 4 months, he was settling into a PhD program. He was a teacher's aide. Yeah, he's going to drive around and live his lifestyle, and maybe he was learning the area, trying to meet people, trying to figure out where things were, and you tend to drive around, and if he chose to do that at odd times of the night, who are we to judge? Who are we to judge? I'm sure he did it back when he was in Pennsylvania as well, and I'm just wondering, was he ever convicted of an actual violent crime in Pennsylvania? Was he ever investigated for a violent crime in Pennsylvania? Is there any knowledge that he committed something other than some stupid crimes that related to his addiction and a cell phone? I committed worse crimes than that in my sleep. So he's new to an area. He's going to drive around. He's going to be in areas that people would say would be odd for him to be in because he's new to the area. So how do you explain why you're in a certain area when you're new to the area and you're probably just learning your surroundings? Oh, he's been there 4 months. He should have known them by then. No, not always. Not always. But let's even talk about the night of the actual crime. The night of the crime. The morning of the crime, I guess you would say, on November 13th at bright and early in the morning. He supposedly, let's just say supposedly, because we don't know the whole story yet, but supposedly walks out of his apartment about 2:45 in the morning to get into his car and leave his apartment. 2:45 in the morning. We know that the Idaho 4 home, the crime scene home, everybody is said to have been back to the house by 2 a.m. from various places in town. So 45 minutes after everybody has arrived back to the home, he leaves his home. This is about the time that the constant calling from Maddie and Kaylee, the calls are being made to Jack D. Quite a few calls, all went unanswered. And relatively 11 minutes before the ending of those calls, Koberger left his apartment. The odd thing about that, if you really think about it, when you look at the body cam footage that's shown from the Banfield, and they claim that that is probably Koberger's car driving into the area in the background, which I don't really truly believe it is, but if they're saying that is, it doesn't line up with the PCA, because the PCA says he first initially entered the area of the home at 3:29 in the morning. So we're led to believe that he left his apartment at 2:45 in the morning, 7 miles away from the crime scene, literally a 10-minute drive from what most people have stated. Yet, he's not seen entering the actual area of the home until 3:29. So we're talking about 45 minutes. What was he doing? Just driving like his alibi said? He was probably driving. People have said he was up in different areas. They caught him on cams in different areas. Driving. So the alibi said he was out for a drive. He was driving. So then when we look at the footage, the cameras, that they're aligning their PCA up with, he was driving. Then miraculously at 4:04, he's seen going supposedly to the Linda Lane apartments to do a turnaround and come back out. So now we're talking about 4:04, 4:06-ish. What happened to the 3:29 coming into the area, leaving, and now it's 4:04, 4:06? This is some pretty odd, I guess, route taking, or it could be somebody who's lost, or it might not be the same car, or it could be many factors of this, but at the end of the day, it still fits the alibi of driving. I've scoured that PCA pretty hard because, I was looking for something to me that seemed important. I read everything about the driving and the route in the area. I read about the 3-point turn. I read about the struggle trying to find a place to park. I found a lot of details about driving. But I never did find a car that parked. I never found anything about a car that parked and someone getting out of the vehicle. Where did it park? Where did the person get out of the vehicle? Where did the person go when they got out of the vehicle? I hear driving. I don't hear parking. I don't hear getting out. Come on, I need some timeline of when did the car actually park? When did the person exit the vehicle? You build this timeline for the crime, stating that happened between the hours of 4 a.m. and the ending time of the crime was 4:25. Yet you clearly have misrepresented the actual timeline of the crime by making that statement. The Linda Lane footage, when he's supposedly still moving around, that wasn't 4 a.m. You didn't even see him at 4 a.m. You saw him after 4 a.m. So why is that not in the PCA, as we saw a detailed turnaround in a parking lot at 4:07 a.m. in the Linda Lane parking lot of the apartments? Said vehicle turned around, drove away. Where's that? But then later in the PCA, you state you see a car zooming away at 4:20, yet you claim the end of the crime is 4:25. These are called false statements. It's incorrect information. Where is the correct information stating a car made a turnaround attempt at 4:07 a.m. in the Linda Lane parking lot? It parked at 4:10 in blah 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 spot with a male suspect exiting said vehicle, walking to home. You don't have it, do you? You don't have that. Because if you did, you would have put it into the statement. So, you don't have it. So, everybody's tearing apart a man's alibi saying he was out for a drive. I do it constantly. There's many of you watching this right now that could shake your head up and down and say, yep, I've taken a nighttime drive to clear my mind and de-stress myself and let the air flow through, and I just feel a little bit better about my day. But his alibi's not good enough when he said, I was out for a drive? When you were out for your drive, if something happened and somebody asked you for an alibi, what would you tell them? What could I tell them when I went for a drive last night after the F1 race for about 35 minutes? If I was asked by an officer today for my alibi during that 35 minutes worth of time, what would I say? What could I say? I was out for a drive. I was out for a drive. He didn't have to give all the details of what streets he was on and what routes he took during his drive. That's not mandatory within an alibi. And it's known, especially by people like myself that have been intertwined in cases, being investigated, having to deal with the investigators, having to talk to the interrogators, having to give many of statements over and over and over where they try to trip you up on every single thing you say. You keep it basic. Meaning, if I was interrogated about my actions last night, it would be simple. I was out for a drive. Well, where did you go? I just drove. I'm sure you have the cameras showing my route. I just drove. Well, where were you heading to? I had no destination. I was just driving. Were you going to see anybody? I was just out driving. That's not an alibi that should be shredded up as a horrifically bad alibi. For me, it's the absolute truth. I was out driving. So, what do we expect this suspect to say when he's caught on camera doing what? Driving. Now, if you really want to break it down, He left his home at 2:45. He did not head directly to Moscow, Idaho. Where did he go before he went to Moscow, Idaho? Where did he stop prior to heading to Moscow, Idaho? Where was his pit stop for a couple of minutes? Why was he making that pit stop? Or did he just stop to maybe change the music and get his head right? See where he wanted to go. Maybe he looked on his phone at maps to see, I don't know, where the hell should we go tonight? And then he left. And he went for a drive. But then everybody says, well, he turned off his phone. That son of a gun. That son of a gun. I can't believe he would do that. He turned off his phone. I turn off mine when I don't want to talk to anybody. I turn off mine to take my focus away from my phone that I spend so much time engaged with on a daily basis to pay more attention to relaxing and freeing my mind. I didn't want my phone to ring. I don't want it to ding from Facebook. I didn't want to get an email. I don't want to look at my YouTube responses. So I turned my phone off. So now if the officers wanted to interrogate me about last night, now I've got really a big problem. I was out for a drive and my phone was off. For everybody that says they don't turn off their phone, that's grand and dandy for you. That means you're spending far too much time paying attention to your phone. I know people like that wake up in the middle of the night just to check their messages. Then they wake up another hour later to look at their Facebook messages. Hell, they might as well get up, go to the bathroom, put on all their makeup, and go out on a date with as much as they're interacting with their phone. There must be something really special on there to keep you up all night. It's like our 12 to 15-year-old kids are just stuck face first to their cell phones. They've forgotten how to play sports or how to treat teachers at the school with respect. Instead, they're stuck in their cell phones, worried about their everyday social life, which is creating even more issues for many of them in life. I thankfully am able to turn my phone off and set it aside and focus on better things than my phone. Maybe Cobra didn't have to really focus on his phone either and just needed an hour and a half to 2 hours worth of time to clear his mind. None of what I'm saying is going to prove this man innocent, but what it can do is open many people's eyes that a lot of the things being said and dictated by not only law enforcement investigations, but also mainstream media and a lot of other, individuals out there that want everybody to focus on these key identifying traits that could possibly mean he's a murderer. Guys, maybe he's just a young man that got stressed out in his education, had a rough day and a rough week at school, and needed to get out and drive around and free and clear his mind, so he shut his phone off, took an hour and a half, 2 hour drive, and came home. "4 months, 12 times in an area." That doesn't sound like stalking to me. It just doesn't. I've been locked up with a few that got caught with crimes that entailed stalking that ended with horrible results, and they lived by it daily for hours, not here, there, stalking. It was daily and for hours. So you've also got to put together the sense of he's only been in town for 4 months. He's engaged in a full-time college program. He's teacher's aide. How much time did he have to get reeled in and, let's just say, socially overly attracted or stalker level of one of these ladies? And nobody noticed around. with all the people around, nobody noticed. I guarantee you, if Kaylee felt the heat, she would be running her mouth to her family so fast it wouldn't be funny. You want to know how I know that? Look at how much her mom and her sister talk. Kaylee would be the exact same. Guarantee it. You'd see it by just the actions and the videos that we see of her. She talks, plus she's into true crime. She's going to be aware of her surroundings. She's not going to hide that. She's going to make a statement regarding that. And that's why somebody came out very early on and said that she had made a statement in regards to a stalker, a possible stalker, but nothing ever came of it. Nothing. You don't think Maddie's boyfriend or Kaylee's boyfriend would have heard some distress about a stalking situation? Or a man being overzealous towards them? Doesn't matter if somebody's socially awkward, that doesn't mean they're a stalker. If somebody struggles to get a good date, real date, that doesn't mean they're a stalker. This girl that makes the claim of good birthing hips, or whatever she said Koberger told her when he brought her home and she had to lock herself in the bathroom. Show me proof of any of that happened other than the few words out of her mouth. Show me something that happened. It's a good thing that when this young man goes to court, that it's the prosecution's duty to prove the case, and it's not his duty to disprove it. But I'll tell you what, with the way things are already going, I think everybody around this case in the legal side of things may have already deemed they don't need to prove or disprove anything. They're just going to cheat the basis and find him guilty so that we can move on and have a sealed case and moving on. Because they can't afford a cold case in this. They just can't afford it. They won't let it become a cold case. They'll take someone down before it becomes a cold case. Do you know how I know how that works? I sat in the penitentiary for years upon years with a scattered few people that told me, well, I'm innocent. And I've read their paperwork and I'm like, it doesn't sound right, but you got found guilty at trial, but the story doesn't sound right. And I watched a man, after being locked up for 29 years, another man for 30-something years, get let out and called innocent. Sometimes the communities just want some sort of resolution to a case that they're willing to take anybody down that slightly makes sense. Slightly makes sense. All I ask for, and it would go a long way in flipping my script to where I'll even jump over to the other side of the line, if you got it, I want the actual footage and description within, like the PCA states, I want where he parked, when he parked, who got out of the car, what entrance they walked in, and I want proof of it. I want to see it. If you can't do that, there's too many questions. Because like I said, a crime was committed in an area where my phone pinged over 500 times. I've been in and out of that area a lot. At all times of the night and day. And I know for a fact I could prove that it definitely wasn't me. But I can also guarantee the fact they would have no evidence it was me. So let's get down to Stop fighting over the IgG DNA evidence. Stop fighting over all of that. Take a pause and prove the fact the man parked his car, entered the home, and even had the slight possibility of being the one in the house to commit the crime. First of all, prove it was him that was in the house. Prove it. Then we'll get back to the IgG and how all of that could have possibly transpired. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I hope tonight you get to enjoy some time. And if you do go take a nighttime drive tonight, let that fresh air blow in your face and just enjoy every single minute of it, because it's our right to be able to do that. Have a good night.